Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another episode of Engine Room by Token Metrics. My name is Dylan Love. I'm the managing editor of cryptocurrency research firm Token Metrics, and we are joined by a smattering collection of deep crypto nerds and crypto enthusiasts. As always, we've got Bill, our chief technical analyst. What's up, Bill?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Jacob, the market analyst intern. How you doing, Jacob?
Hey, Dylan, what's up?
Forrest is, of course, our senior cryptocurrency investment analyst. What's up, Forrest?
Dylan.
And Jad, I'm blanking on your job title. Please excuse me.
The quantitative analyst.
That's it. Quantitative analyst. One of those numbers guys. Anyway, it's been another week, and certainly we're paying attention to the news coming out of Afghanistan. If you're subscribed to our newsletter, then you'll get a lovely op-ed about why the situation in Afghanistan is not a crypto talking point, and people who are drawing lines between this political turmoil and saying Bitcoin fixes this, those people are asinine and should probably be ignored. Yes, Eric Voorhees, CEO of Shapeshift, we're talking about you. But in any case, let's move right along past that. We got a big new number to talk about in crypto, and that is $2 trillion. As of yesterday, we are now dealing with a $2 trillion crypto market cap. It sounds like a really big number, but I wanna throw out another number, which is $1 quadrillion, which is the current size of the derivatives market. So I guess I'm mostly speaking to myself right now because I have a lot of FOMO about missing out on any rising water levels here. 2 trillion sounds like the ship has already sailed, but the size of the existing derivatives market really seems to suggest we've only got miles and miles to go. What do you guys think?
Well, 2 trillion's tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah,
I think it's still very, very early. Even in the next year or so, I think the market can sustain much, much higher market caps.
Yeah, I mean, $2 trillion is like a number for like people to like, I call it the FFH, the functional fixation hypothesis, where everyone's like, ooh, look, a number to fixate on. On charts, the real number that matters is 3 trillion. You know, equities, I don't know. Equities, like Facebook and Apple is 2 trillion. You know what I'm saying? So if the future of money is 2 trillion and the equities pumpathon is 15 trillion, you know, and Ethereum is not only the future of money, but the future of banking and technology in general, 2 trillion is like, you know, pocket change.
What about Jacob and Jad? It seems like we all see this. It sounds really big. I don't have $2 trillion. How can we further contextualize this number?
Well, I think there's on our crowd fund, there's a lovely picture of the ocean with all of the assets. I think it was $250 trillion of assets, and then a dam, and in that dam there's a little crack and there was water leading to a small pond, and that small pond was crypto with its $2 trillion market cap. I think it was Michael Saylor who said that this right now we're just a little pond waiting for that dam to burst, and once it bursts, everything's going to the moon.
Exciting times. It's an interesting time to be working in crypto. Here's some crypto adjacent news. It's not exactly crypto, but it certainly touches crypto. Famous investor Michael Burry, who made his name betting against the housing market in 2008, it has recently come to public light that he has a $31 million bet against Cathie Wood's ARK Innovation ETF. ARKK is the ticker. This is an interesting case because she holds a lot of Coinbase stock, Tesla stock, Square stock, and even some Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. So it's not exactly a crypto ETF, but boy, does she love crypto. And boy, does Michael Burry say that she's wrong to love crypto like this. What do we think? Is Michael Burry going to be right again? Or is he, what is this? Is he, what do we think? Is this going anywhere? Is he going to be right on this?
I mean, it's definitely something to look at and pay attention to. Maybe he got a lot very famous on The Big Short and the movie and the book and all that, but like definitely have his opinion in mind. I don't necessarily agree with it 100%, but it's something that I would want to keep track of and see what he thinks.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't necessarily think it's I'm very pro crypto, and like I just said, the market cap could go much higher. I'm very long on crypto, but I don't think objectively it's that bad of a bet, especially when you take into account that it's also including overvalued equities like Tesla. But it's essentially a short. It's just betting on high downside volatility, which crypto has a ton of high downside volatility, right? Historic bear markets, we've seen 80-90% crashes. So making a bet that there's going to be large or high downside volatility in crypto is probably pretty smart. Now, you know, in the short term, that may be a good strategy, but in the long term, that could certainly get away from you. Especially if crypto continues to run higher and higher.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to say that the equity valuations right now are absurd. Like all these speculative stocks like Tesla, all the green energy. I mean, we saw Plug Power, all these, some companies that don't even have any revenue are worth $2 to $5 billion. I mean, that's what I think he's betting against, is these absurd valuations, these pre-revenue companies, and the ARK ETFs are really just comprised of speculative equities, speculative stocks. So that's really what he's betting against. I don't think he's betting against Cathie Wood, and that it honestly seems like a smart bet in the short term, like Forrest was saying. But I saw Cathie's response on Twitter, and what she's saying is that this innovation is going to take off in the next 10 to 20 years. So her ETFs in the short term, with crazy inflation rates, with these speculative stocks, may seem absurd, may seem like poor investments, but in 10 years, once the genomic revolution takes off, CRISPR takes off, it will be a good investment. And I think his short is definitely focused on the short-term volatility, like Forrest was saying.
What do you think, Bill? You've got quite a bit of legacy finance experience. Is this a bet that you would make if you had the resources to do it?
Okay, so that's a good question. So I think you're going to need to hedge risk assets, including crypto, for like a 3 to 6 month disruption in 2022, right? So somewhere out there, a down move or some highly volatile, nauseating sideways action is in our future. Now, what happens with these guys that are famous, especially if it's for one particular thing, is like it's an elixir to go back and try to repeat it. Now, what people may be forgetting is things like housing. The firm I was working at identified housing and got hedged 3 years before it actually took place.
Mm-hmm.
So if you combine this desire to relive the old days, stay famous and relevant, because keep in mind that the guy can't turn around and say, oh, let's get long. He can't say that. So he's either got to be short or say nothing. Now, a lot of times these big thinkers, sometimes they can be early. Like they may see a 6-month black swan in 2022, but the guy could be 6 to 8 months early. And of course, we've already covered, crypto long-term out 3-4 years is going to be 3x the size. So you also have to remember that when you bet against Cathie, like who's Cathie betting on? Jerome Powell in the printing press. So I totally
sorry,
understand.
Bill. Unpack that, please. She's betting on the printing press. Can you go deeper on that, please?
Sure. So Jacob brought it up that, you've got a whole host of software companies and a whole host of small caps that are not profitable, that have astronomical valuations. They call it like the unprofitable software company index, and it looks like an altcoin. So if you're buying these stocks, or you're buying Tesla, or even if you're buying certain sectors of crypto, you're betting that the virus will be bad enough that the Fed will never be able to stop. I mean, $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill, who's going to buy all those bonds? Well, the Fed is, right? So if you look at monetary policy, the virus, I mean, this whole thing that Jerome Powell came out and is like, oh yeah, we're going to stop printing in 2022. I'm like, okay, Jerome, have another hit. That's a really nice fantasy, but that's not going to happen. And that's what Kathy knows.
Gotcha. Well, time will tell. Time will tell. I hear you very clearly on potentially being early without being wrong. He might not be right now, but maybe he'll be right soon. We'll see. We'll see. Jacob, I know you've got a few news items. Why don't you throw one out there for us?
Yeah, sure. First of all, Bill, I love that analogy. So a couple podcasts ago, I think this was last Wednesday, that was really when we saw the hacker who stole $611 million from Poly Network. I brought it up saying that the news were calling them a white hat hacker, but at that point they had only returned 1% of the $611 million. So far, all but 33 million has been returned. So they've returned more than, what is it, $580 million. And not only that, Poly Network says, quote, to extend our thanks and encourage Mr. White Hat to continue contributing to security advancement in the blockchain world together with Poly Network, we cordially invite Mr. White Hat to be the chief security advisor of Poly Network. So, and they offered him a $500,000 reward for assisting in retrieving the remaining user funds, because right now they're unable to access 200 million of the 611 million. So this guy stole $611 million, returned all but 33 million. So he has $33 million, got offered $500,000 and a job as the chief security advisor of Poly Network. So I think I'm agreeing with you that this guy's not a white hat hacker. He's just smart as hell, smart as heck. Like, he steals all this money. He becomes infamous, still gets to keep 30 million, a job, and 500K that's not hacked. I mean, hey, that's a great day. But I think
only in crypto.
Yeah,
like for real.
If this wasn't crypto, his ass would be in jail. That's my thought.
His ass still may wind up in jail. But
that's true.
Right,
I was gonna say, it just sounds like a trap to reveal his identity. Like I don't think that that would not be a smart move to hire this guy as their chief of security. That's not a good look. Like, if I was invested in a project that offered a hacker the chief of security job, and also somebody who already is sitting on $33 million and has really no incentive to work, like it just sounds bizarre. Like it sounds like they're trying to trap him and get him to reveal his identity so they can turn him in and get that last 33 million. Like,
watch out for the men in black, dude.
Yeah.
We'll have a chopper ready to take, like hostage negotiations. Oh yeah, dude, we're gonna have a chopper ready for you to go. Yeah, right before SWAT kicks the door in.
When we talked about this last week, I remember we were talking about white hat versus black hat, and it seems like he was a malicious guy who got a little scared. It did come out in the news since last week that they found messages encoded in the blockchain about him trying to move some of this stolen money into Tornado Cash. If you're not familiar, Tornado Cash is all about making Ethereum transactions private and anonymous. This is not what a white hat hacker does. This is a guy who got scared, returned a bunch of money, kept a significant chunk of change for himself. Yeah, he's not going to work. He's sitting on $33 million. Why would he tell anybody who he is, let alone go to work for them?
Yeah. It's both could be a little sting operation to get Mr. White Hat, but also could be a little cleanup job for Poly Network. Hey, it's all in good fun. We lost $611 million of our customers' money, but we're offering him a job. No big deal. I mean, it could also just be a PR move.
They're probably trying to quell the panic. Yeah.
But speaking of white hats, here's an actual white hat. So a group of people led by the crypto investment firm Paradigm, led by the research partner Sam Sun, prevented SushiSwap's token fundraising platform Miso from losing more than $350 million in Ether by discovering a bug and fixing the bug on the platform in under just 5 hours. No, they didn't take any of this $350 million. They reached out to SushiSwap, said, hey, there's a bug. We need to fix this. You could have lost $350 million, but we're an actual white hat. We didn't even hack you. We just pointed out this error and we didn't get anything in return. Yes, they got publicity, but that's what an actual white hat hacker does. Like Dylan said last week, they don't take the money. They just say, hey, we could have taken this money.
Yeah. By the way, there is strong precedent for giving people jobs if they're able to punch holes in your network. There's a couple examples from Microsoft and Facebook in particular. They have hired, I don't want to call them malicious hackers, but like young, smart kids who are kind of pranking people for the lulz. They have given them money and jobs as some kind of reward or compensation for helping them
Right.
improve.
Uncle Sam was offering a reward for anybody who could hack Monero, right, and figure out how that works. I mean, they were offering like $700K, and I think that was either the intelligence community or the Treasury that was offering that.
Yeah, speaking of Monero, I'm remembering that news item from several weeks ago where Ricardo Spagni, also known as Fluffy Pony, was detained at an airport. Have we heard anything about that since? They say it was about things completely unrelated to crypto. I don't buy it for a second, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, you won't. I mean, you can Google it, but you know, if they want to make you disappear, dude, they can do that.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Anyway, Jacob, what else you got, man? What else is on your list?
Yeah, so this, not related to crypto at all, but I'm a huge car nerd. I love cars, and I just saw a concept car by Audi, which is a shape-shifting concept car. I watched a video of it. It looks almost like the Batmobile, but the cool thing about it is, well, it's an electric car called the Sky Sphere, and it's future ready. So obviously it's going to be autonomous and drive itself. But the cool thing is that a lot of people are worried about self-driving cars. They say, hey, well, what if I want to drive? This car is kind of a hybrid mode. It can both drive itself and have human driving. So you get in the car in the human driving mode. It's like a really cool sports car, 2-seater. And then you press this little button and then the car extends 10 inches, almost a foot, from front end to back. So the hood just literally extends, the back extends, and then the steering wheel and the driving pedals go into the dash, along with the dashboard and the gear selector, all just get put in these little compartments, making it like kind of more just comfortable, no driving gear needed. And then that's self-driving car, and you can like stretch out your legs. So, I mean, that was so cool for me to see because I love cars, and like, that's really the future. Obviously this is not going to be a production vehicle because it's a concept car and it's probably worth like $5 million, but it's really cool to see. So if you guys have some time after going to our website at tokenmetrics.com, go check out this Audi, the Sky Sphere shape-shifting car.
Yeah, see, that's a perfect segue, speaking of tokenmetrics.com, because this car that he just described is kind of like an AI human mix, right? And that's actually what we do, right? We have indices and rankings that pop up. Then we have human analysts that take a look at that, play off that, give you suggestions that actually brings you back to the website so you can switch from self-driving by doing it yourself, or you can mix in the human element. And that's a lot of what we're doing on Token Metrics TV. And speaking of that, you know, I've talked to our AI guys, like, you know, Jad works with them in the quant department. You know, AI doesn't make itself, right? People make it. And we got the best people for that type of work. End of commercial.
Jacob, your story is making me flash back really hard to when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and my father would tell me, you know, kind of innocuous lies about how the world worked, just kind of for his own entertainment. We had a 1985 Ford Ranger pickup truck, completely bland interior, just brown, 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 except for this blue button in the center console labeled AC. And I said, Dad, what does AC stand for? And he said, oh, that blue button, that stands for airplane control. When I push that blue button, wings pop out the side of the truck, and then we can fly around. And I believed him, of course. Anyway.
And then my dad used to say the exact same thing in his old Renault car.
That's
funny.
very good. Yeah.
And now you can probably write a white paper about that and issue a token if this market goes up high enough. You know what I'm saying? ACT, airplane token, or airplane control token.
Yeah. Well, now I'd like us to switch and talk about NFTs, because boy, NFTs are hot right now. I'd like to give a little stat right now. So OpenSea, the biggest NFT marketplace, has had $1.2 billion, 387,000 ETH in volume over the past month, which is a 950% increase from last month. It also has had 1.36 million transactions in the past month, which is a 180% month over month increase. So, I mean, it's crazy. NFTs are exploding. I mean, NFTs really started over our past bull run from February to May, but they're coming back. I mean, that's a 950% increase in volume. That's huge. And I think the key takeaway of that is not to FOMO. I mean, I put it as kind of everyone wants to get their hands on a lonely alien or a fowl from Zed Run, like Forrest with his lovely horses. But I think the NFT marketplace is going to come back to earth. Right now it's skyrocketing, but you don't want to FOMO. You don't want to chase something that's just going to crush you in the end. You really want to understand the value of what you're purchasing. If you find the sick upcoming NFT that's amazing art, it might have some utility or something, go for it, but don't just follow the trend and get crushed in the end. And I think that's also a great transition for Bill. Let's hear about your NFT. I think
speaking of upcoming NFTs.
Yeah, you're missing a little part of we need to see the glasses.
All right. Well, it's funny that you mentioned the future of NFTs. I mean, right now, NFTs are for the big boys. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're talking like $1 million plus at a time, for some of these things. So my take on NFTs long-term is that it's actually going to work for the small artist, right? So you're going to be trading like baseball cards. You might be trading personas rather than ETH rocks. So can you guys see my screen?
For sure.
Yes.
Okay. So this is Notorious Bill 2.0. It's on OpenSea. Ironically, Twitter took the link to it down because I guess Twitter doesn't want people endorsing NFTs on their site. Pretty funny that they're, Bitcoin Maximalist guys don't want people doing NFTs. Anyway, so Notorious Bill, something an artist came up with. She's very humble, needless to say, but she's good at this cartoon art. And me and her have been just plugging away at this whole idea of Notorious Bill. In other words, BitBoy's got this corner on the wholesome, likable guy. So how do we make a guy that's also likable, but is also notorious?
Yeah.
Right. So I actually didn't even come up with that idea. She's just like, dude, you're Notorious Bill. Get your ass to the jewelry shop or the pawn shop, get some chains and get the Versace sunglasses that Notorious B.I.G. wore. And then she is making Notorious NFTs. And our idea is start small, right? When everyone gets done with ETH rocks, eventually it'll be about the small local artist, and we'll actually go back to collecting art itself. So when the FOMO's over, right, art will come back. Now, is Notorious Bill art? I don't fucking know.
I mean,
I'm giving the artist a chance. And everybody I talked to said, dude, you're triple extra large and you talk a lot. So Notorious Bill is a fit. So we can only hope. Let's hope so for what I had to pay for these glasses. Speaking of FOMO, wow.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah, I mean, it's Notorious Bill is definitely more art than a JPEG picture of a rock or a weird squiggly worm. I mean, I agree. I think NFTs need to move back to really being all about like the small artist or actual art. It needs to be intricate. If you're going to be spending $1.2 million on art, it should be something that took the artist 100 hours, 200 hours to make. That's just like mind-boggling, beautiful, insane, not just a picture of a rock. And
right. And for these big NFTs that come out, like the rocks, right? We need derivatives on those NFTs so that the Jads of the world can analyze them and the Forrest of the world can figure out long short strategy, right? Like long horses, short rocks, right? That's the only way that market ever normalizes, is with derivatives where you can actually bet on the value of the NFTs.
Speaking of betting and NFTs, and Forrest, I know you talked a little bit about your racehorses during the last live stream. Would you mind rehashing some of that for us here?
Yeah, so I'm my part-time gig now, I guess you could call it, is digital. I'm a digital horse breeder. So Zed Run, Zed.Run is a horse racing project where the horses are NFTs. And just like normal horse racing, some horses are faster than others, and the ones that are faster make more money. It's genetically, they're programmatically, the genes are programmatically coded into these NFTs, and you don't know how fast your horse is until you race it. So if you get a fast horse, or if you have one of the Genesis horses, which are supposedly have the best genes and the fastest genes, you can either race it to earn money, because if you win more races than you lose, you'll make money. It's profitable. Or you can breed those horses, because people will pay breeding fees or stud fees multiple times per month in order to breed with your fast horse, so they have the chance of breeding a fast horse and being able to make money through racing it, or breeding it if it's winning races. So yeah, I bought some Genesis horses. They're top tier, and hopefully they continue to go up in value. But in the meantime, I'm pretty comfortable with the investment, because unlike normal NFTs that don't have a ton of utility outside of maybe store of value or being visually appealing, these are actually earning money through breeding and racing if I so chose. But yeah, the ROI right now through breeding is pretty decent. It's like 20 months to break even. So and that's if things don't improve. That's if it doesn't go up in value. So
And Forrest, is it a one-time investment, or or if you want to train it or make sure that it wins more races, you keep investing in it, or how does it work really?
It's just one-time investment. You buy the horse, then it's yours. You can breed it. If it's a male, you can stud it out 3 times a month. If it's a female, you can breed it once per month, but you actually keep the horse. If you have the female, you pay the breeding fee, but in return, you get to actually keep the horse, just like real horse racing.
And like how can you make sure to become better at racing, essentially win more races and stuff?
It all comes down to the genetics. So some horses come out and they're slow, and they're essentially donkeys, and they need to be sent off, and they're worthless if they can't win any races.
Yeah,
but if it's
so in other words,
horse,
in other words, you can't hedge, right?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
It's like Forrest doesn't need sunglasses to be a crypto gangster, man. Don't be fooled by the calm demeanor. He's just like, yeah, man, I'm in horses.
It almost
kind of
reminds-
like, those commercials, like, don't tell mom, like, don't tell my family. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, first I was like, this guy's crazy. And I'm like, you know what? Every big trade starts out with somebody going, this guy's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hats off to Forrest.
The project is gaining a lot. It's like it's a top 10 NFT project by volume traded. It's one of the only ones on Matic. So there's no gas fees when you buy and sell these horses and then pay for breeding. They've partnered with Atari. They've partnered with Stella Artois, the beer company. They've recently inked a partnership with NASCAR, who wants to move into the space. So my hope is that, it's going to be, you turn on NASCAR, and I'm I'm not a big NASCAR guy, but you turn on NASCAR and you see the cars with the M&Ms, or the branding, right? The branding deals, the sponsorship deals. What would make me very happy is if M&Ms or Coca-Cola or another big company, Formula One racing, whatever, ended up paying or sponsoring one of my horses down the line for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So that's the future.
or just features the sponsors the company after they've done the token airdrop that you might get for owning the horses, right?
Yep. Yeah. So there is a rumored airdrop of Zed token. I think it's actually going to be the reverse of that. DEZ is what I'm hearing. But yeah, there's going to be supposedly a pretty nice airdrop for people that own over a certain tier of horses. I don't know. I would imagine probably people that are participating on the platform, breeding horses, racing horses, will probably qualify for the airdrop too. But it's all rumors now. So there's never really any way to tell exactly what the qualifications for an airdrop are going to be unless they disclose it.
I can imagine NASCAR doing their own NFT racing game, and hell, F1 at the same rate. F1 has a super duper multinational fan base of people who actually have some resources to throw into things like NFTs. I could imagine this being a serious attention getter for NASCAR and F1 in particular.
Right, and F1's got a champion that's won 8 times in a row, Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
So he took a picture with him way back in the day when I lived in Austin at the F1 race. But F1 may have to make itself more interesting if the same guy keeps winning year after year. So it costs $500 million to put an F1 car on the track. So can you imagine how much money is floating around in that sport?
Quite a bit. Yeah, I wonder what Lewis Hamilton's stud fees are.
Oh my God, dude.
Well, what's interesting is because this is so new and cutting edge and unproven, at this point, does it really make sense for NASCAR to spend the money in an area that they have no expertise in to build their own platform? Or does it make more sense for them to say, oh, this is really interesting. We don't know how this is going to pan out. We don't want to sink all of our time and money into developing a blockchain NFT racing version of NASCAR. But let's dip our toes into Zed Run, see how this thing pans out. And then maybe later on, we'll decide if we want to compete. But in the meantime, let's sponsor some horses. Let's get the NASCAR brand and image on this thing. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing pans out, especially with like you said, NASCAR and Formula One.
Yeah, and I think
a lot of money there.
I think this is really just the start of major companies like F1, NASCAR creating their own games or sponsoring. I think it would be awesome to have our traditional playing cards like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh as NFT games. Like imagine a Pokemon NFT game right now when instead of owning a $300,000 first edition Charizard, but you own a $2 million NFT virtual Charizard. I mean, I think Nintendo would make a killing on a Pokemon NFT game, but right now it's just the space probably isn't big enough. And once it gets bigger, there are going to be these companies because like you said, it's millions of dollars to put a car on the track. It's millions of dollars to mass produce these Pokemon cards, but the software is definitely cheaper to just hire some blockchain engineers, hire these people who be some graphic designers to make these NFT virtual characters. I mean, they'll make a boatload of money, and people will also probably make a boatload of money by owning maybe a first edition Squirtle NFT. That'd be so cool. That's my kind of pipe dream. We have Forrest's pipe dream is getting his horses sponsored by M&Ms. Mine is having a Pokemon NFT game.
Yeah, rumor has it Novogratz from Galaxy Digital. They formed a subsidiary, which I believe is called Candy Digital. Don't quote me on this. He says NFTs are going to be around longer than crypto. Now, of course, he's talking his book, but if NFTs are the way big corporations get involved in crypto, I mean, you shouldn't be FOMOing into worms and stuff like that and rocks, but, you know, coming soon may be, you know, both something for the small artists and, like you guys said, something for the big players.
I'm reminded of the Mark Andreessen quote about how software eats the world. If large company, if F1 teams have to spend $500 million to put a car on the ground in order to make that money back and then some, if they could just do it in software and spend a fraction of that sum and still see the same ROI, well, then I think the future becomes pretty obvious at that point.
Yeah. Jacob, it's funny you mentioned you mentioned like Yu-Gi-Oh and card games and Pokemon. It's already happening, man. Alluvium is the Pokemon game that's coming out. It's, instead of Pokemon, they're called Alluvials. That project has exploded in value. We covered it on the watch list a couple weeks back. And then Gods Unchained. It's like got the guy who is either the co-founder or like chief of something over at Magic the Gathering, which is the biggest trading card game in the world. They're starting, or they've already started, Gods Unchained, which is a digital NFT trading card game where it's just like Magic the Gathering, but the cards are digital and they're NFTs. So it's already happening. It's just the big brands are seeing competition sprout up.
And the sports guys haven't even, you know, are just starting to get involved. Jad actually flagged this via the AI. This whole NFT thing exploded when the tokens for the soccer club showed up in the indices. That was like a month ago, right?
Yeah, we were seeing indices composed of soccer club fan tokens like PSG fan token, Juventus fan token that all shot up like 20-30% increases. And after that happened, like after a lot of these soccer clubs started being sponsored with their own tokens and socios.com, Chili's and all that, there was Lionel Messi, who's arguably the best player ever to play the game, who released his own NFT collection on Eternity. And as soon as he launched his NFT collection on Eternity, the price almost doubled. And that's only Messi. Okay, he's one of the best players, but if he gets followed by, let's say, like Ronaldo, Neymar, and these guys, if these guys end up making their own NFT collection, this is going to be even bigger. So it's moving a lot.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to follow this stuff. It does seem inevitable. The only question is, what form is it actually going to take in reality? Jacob, you got any more news items here? We're reaching the end of our session here. Anything?
Yeah, I just kind of want to point out that like NFTs aren't just used in these virtual games or just as JPEG images art. I think, or NFT also has a lot of utility. I mean, there's certain games like Forrest was saying where you can get interest or return on your investments by purchasing these NFTs. Some NFTs give dividends, which is super cool. So you can own both a piece of this art and then get dividends like you would in a traditional stock. But also there's something called the ENS, which is the Ethereum name service, which is a lookup system similar to the internet's DNS system, where you are able to purchase names. And that has real utility, because if like, I mean, this is new. I'm thinking about getting Jacob.ENS. That'd be cool. I mean, like, imagine you have these like original Instagram handles, Twitter handles, or original like URLs that are worth millions of dollars because people got them right in the 90s in the internet boom. And I mean, one recent example is just this past week, beer, BEER, beer.eth sold for $84,000. So I mean, it's real, it has utility, and it's also an NFT that's not just an image. So it's cool to see the real utility of NFTs.
Seems like there's a real parallel between what you're describing, Jacob, and conventional real estate investing. I can only think of Michael Saylor, who talks about buying Bitcoin as like he's buying the granite blocks of Cyber Manhattan. Maybe you've heard that soundbite before.
Right, property rights.
Exactly. So maybe we can think about this as a new kind of real estate investing. You want to own, you want to have a very aesthetically pleasing address for people to send money to transact with you. We'll see. Well, what do you think, guys? Any parting thoughts before we put this one in the can?
Hey, stay with us. You know what I'm saying? Stay with Engine Room. You know, my job is to try to see the future before it happens. Let me tell you something, folks. This is going to be the biggest podcast in crypto, right? Actually, let me say that another way. This is going to be the biggest podcast in crypto.
God bless you, Bill. Thank you, everybody, for your attention, and we'll catch you next time on Engine Room. See you soon.